Go swimming and not get wet. Hi, let's go gamble on a sugar bet. Let's go swim, let's not get wet. Let's go gamble on a sugar bet. Baby, get out, don't go yet.
Alright, today, let's see what we can make out of this jonsered 70E. I showed it on my chainsaw haul video. We got it from Isaac. Now, and he'd said it hadn't ran in a few years. So let's give it a quick going over and see if we can find anything wrong with it. Have a quick look at it. We'll pull it apart a little bit. And we'll see if we can get her going. So to start with, we'll pull the bar and chain off it here. 5/8. One thing I see, this has an 8-tooth sprocket on it. So they wanted it to cut fairly quickly. And there doesn't appear to be much wear on it. So now that we've got that off, let's pull this top cover. And it looks like this air filter just lifts out of here. It's perfectly clean, just like brand new. Now inside here, everything looks good and clean. Near new condition. We'll pull the spark plug out. CJ7Y. Looks pretty black. She's been running rich. Now we'll just check and see if she has spark. Switch in the on position. Spark plug in. And we'll just stick something metal in so it's kind of hitting in on the cylinder. And we'll put the plug up against it. And I don't know if you could see that, but it did have good spark. So that's a good sign. This recoil here seems a wee bit loose. So only one thing. We'll pull this side cover off. See about tightening that up. Here's an interesting point. On these saws, the coil is mounted on the inside of the side cover. And there's a point right here where it makes connection through to the pickup onto the flywheel. So to tighten this up, we'll just pull it out a little bit. Grab a hold of the rope, put it in the groove, tighten it up one round, pull her back out. And that's a lot tighter. So when we put this back on, we'll clean this out a little bit. And we'll make sure that this point, and this point here on the saw, are cleaned to make good connection. So here, I'll take this and clean it up a little bit, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, clean that up a little bit inside there. Now let's stick this back on. Okay. I think we'll do a quick compression test on her. Lock the throttle open. And we've got 145 pounds. That seems good enough. We won't bother to pull the muffler or anything off just yet because it seems to have good compression. So we'll put the spark plug back in. Now, let's check and see if there's any old gas in it. Ooh, that's bad. That old fuel in there smells terrible. Well, look inside the tank. It doesn't look all varnished up bad. Let me pull this fuel line out. Have a look at the filter. Filter is pretty gummed up. There's a bunch of gummy old gas on it. So we'll have to clean it out. It is cleanable. There's a little screw in the end. You can remove this and take it apart and clean it. For right now, let's stick that back in here. Okay, I'm going to take this outside and dispose of this old gas, and I'll be back. Okay, now that old gas is all out of there. This carburetor, I would imagine, will be all gummed up. So let's remove this top cover, see what we get into that carburetor. We'll pull it apart and see what it looks like inside. Looks fairly clean in here. Fuel lines all seem to be still nice and pliable. But let's get this carburetor off and see where we stand. Carburetor off. That little lock spring down out of the way. Gasket looks good. This being a piston ported saw, we can have a quick look at the piston through the hole here. It looks nice and clean. So move this out of the way and we'll get this carburetor tore apart. Okay, this is the carburetor. This is a Tillotson HS. Let's pop the pump side apart first, see what's in there. Now this here is all gone pretty hard. This little screen down in here is all varnished over and full of gunk. We'll pop the diaphragm side apart. Alright. This diaphragm is hard as hard. You can hear it crunching. And this needle looks okay, but it does have a little wear line on it, so I'd imagine it'll need replaced. But other than that, inside this carburetor looks fairly clean. But we'll put her in and we'll give her a good soaking and then spray her down with carb cleaner and go through it and put a new kit in it, and we'll go from there. I'm going to go soak this and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay. Yeah, that carburetor's all cleaned and cleaned out. We went through with some carbon choke cleaner. Now we'll put a new kit in it. These are just cheap kits off of Amazon, but I've actually had really good luck with these. We'll get it out here. One thing, we'll double check and make sure all the holes are in the right spots and line up. They are good. So we'll start and we'll put her back together. I'll do the diaphragm side first. I like to use the old lever or fulcrum arm, as long as it's in good shape. So we'll set the little spring in. That all together and lightly drop her down. Just put my thumb on there and find the screw. Now on these Tillotson HS carburetors to adjust your height. You want to make sure this lever is roughly flush with the top of the carb. Then this gasket here goes on next. Like so on the aligning dowels. Then the diaphragm. You got to make sure this little button gets hooked into the end of the lever. Hook it in. Can be finicky. Yeah. It's in place, and then we'll put the weight back on. Snug the screws up. I like to just kind of bring them all down so they touch, basically, and then snug them after. They've all kind of touched. I'll tighten them down. Now I'll roll her over and we'll do the fuel pump side. So this little screen cleaned up good without having to take it out. So I'm not going to replace it. So we'll save that in our little parts pile. We didn't drill the Welch plugs, so there's no need of it. Everything sprayed through good. So we won't use them either. This little fulcrum arm and pin will save as well. Now this diaphragm here, generally they say is for more ethanol gas applications, but I try not to use ethanol gas, so we'll use the black one. And you put the pump diaphragm on first. And then the gasket. And the aligning dowels in the cover should drop down through the holes and line everything up. Don't force it, just move it around until it all kind of falls together. So, we'll put the screws in. Turn the back around, tighten up. Now we should, just to make sure everything's good, we'll maybe pressure test this carb. Just a second and I'll go and get the pressure tester. Alright, got the pressure tester. This is an old original Pioneer tool. We have a little adapter hose. We'll hook her in. Tighten the knob up. Just make sure we got you in shot here. Good. And we'll pump her up. And she's holding good. So I think that's a good sign. Now we'll turn these needles. We'll turn the high to 1.5. One, half. We'll do the low the same. 1, half. That's what I always use as a starting point. You usually have to lean them out from there, but it gets lots of fuel coming to get them started to begin with. So, we'll pause that, clean this up a little bit, and we'll get the saw back out, and we'll deal with that fuel filter. Okay, we'll take this cap off, and we'll dig this fuel filter back out. Got my little welding wire bent into a hook. Okay. So let's give this a little spray. And a blow. And I'll go find a little Allen to pull that out. I'll be right back. Okay, got a little Allen bit. Take that out of there. Pull this all apart. And then we'll run a bit of carb cleaner through her and blow her out. Okay. I sprayed this out with carb cleaner and blew her all out with air. Now we'll maybe just give this a little shot through the line. Give her a little blow. We can put her back together. These old reusable air or fuel filters are really nice. We're stuck in there. There we go. So that should be good. This line is still nice and pliable and flexible, so we don't have to change it. this carburetor back on. I'll actually give this in here maybe a quick blowout. Then we'll check this gasket. It looks decent. Slide the air horn and everything all on. Put the gasket on it. Slide it down into place. Okay. So we'll take a little bit of just this here to get these started. And we'll pull the carb back just a wee bit. Just make sure the gasket is in there in the right spot. Now we can tighten them up. Choke will sit there. These saws here have just a rod that pushes on a bushing to operate the throttle, so that's easy to get into place. And we'll put the fuel line back on. Then we'll put this little lock spring back up in place. These can be difficult. And you have to make sure you don't puncture the fuel line when doing it. So that's on there. It's in place. Throttle action is good. Now we'll put the top cover and that all back on. And the air filter can go back on. Just pops down in there. And we'll put the top cover back on. Okay. Now we'll fuel her up. And we'll take her out and we'll give her a try.